The shockwave of the Star Raider assault rippled across the colony of New Horizon, shattering windows and rattling the very foundations of the domed cities. Colonel Michael Shepard gripped the edge of the command center's holographic display, his knuckles turning white as he watched the chaotic battle unfold. Klaxons blared, and the air was thick with the acrid scent of burning electronics. Harried technicians rushed to reroute power and redirect defense systems, but it was a losing battle against the overwhelming firepower of the alien invaders. Status report. Shepard barked, his voice cutting through the din. Sir, we've lost the Eastern Quadrant defense grid. The enemy has breached the outer perimeter and is pushing towards the core habitat modules, a young lieutenant replied, her face etched with fear. Shepard's jaw tightened. They were outmatched and outgunned. The colony's modest fleet of patrol craft, no match for the hulking, angular vessels of the Star Raiders. He knew they needed help, and fast. Patch me through to the orbital command, he ordered. Tell them to send out a distress signal on all emergency frequencies. We need reinforcements now. The lieutenant nodded, her fingers flying across the console. After a moment, she looked up, her expression grim. Sir, the orbital command post has been destroyed. All communication channels are down. Shepard's heart sank. They were truly on their own. He turned his attention back to the holo display, watching in horror as the Star Raider ships unleashed wave after wave of devastating attacks. Entire city blocks were reduced to smoldering ruins, and the colony's defensive batteries were quickly being overwhelmed. Just as all seemed lost, a sudden movement on the display caught his eye. A massive wedge-shaped vessel had emerged from the distant edge of the star system, its sleek hull gleaming in the light of New Horizon's binary suns. What the hell is that? Shepard breathed, his eyes widening. The lieutenant adjusted the display, enhancing the image of the mysterious vessel. Sir, I'm detecting a massive power signature. It's firing. Shepard braced himself, expecting the worst. But instead of the expected barrage of destructive energy, a beam of brilliant blue light lanced out from the ship, striking the heart of the Star Raider formation. The alien vessels seemed to simply disintegrate under the withering assault, their hulls tearing apart as if made of paper. The command center fell silent, save for the distant rumble of explosions as the remaining Star Raider ships attempted to flee. Shepard stared at the display, his mind racing. Who or what was the pilot of that incredible vessel? And where had it come from? As if in answer to his unspoken questions, a voice crackled over the emergency frequency, cutting through the static. This is Commander Sarah Johnson of the Terran Expeditionary Force. The threat has been neutralized. Prepare for immediate evacuation. Colonel Shepard stared in awe at the towering form of the Terran warship as it descended upon the battered colony of New Horizon. The vessel's sleek, angular hull gleamed in the light of the binary suns, and Shepard couldn't help but feel a surge of pride and relief at the sight of its arrival. As the ship's engines rumbled to a halt, a sleek shuttle detached from its underbelly, swooping down to the colony's landing pad. Shepard hurried to the pad, flanked by a small contingent of his remaining troops, their weapons at the ready. The shuttle's hatch hissed open, and a tall, striking woman in a crisp uniform stepped out, her dark hair pulled back in a tight bun. Shepard immediately recognized her from the earlier transmission. Commander Sarah Johnson. Colonel Shepard, I presume, Johnson said, her voice calm and measured. I'm glad we were able to arrive in time to assist your colony. Shepard nodded, a mix of emotions playing across his weathered features. Commander, your arrival was most timely. We were facing certain annihilation until your ship entered the fray. Johnson's lips curved into a faint smile. Yes, well, the Star Raiders are a tenacious and ruthless enemy, but we've dealt them a significant blow here today. Her expression darkened. Unfortunately, I fear this is only the beginning. Shepard's brow furrowed. What do you mean? Their commander, a warlord known as Siren, has issued an ultimatum to all human colonies, Johnson explained, her tone grim. Surrender all resources and technology, or face total destruction. Shepard's eyes widened in alarm. Then we must prepare our defenses, rally the other colonies, coordinate a unified response. Johnson raised a hand, cutting him off. That is precisely what we intend to do, Colonel, but we will need your help. She fixed him with a steely gaze. Are you and your people prepared to join the fight against the Star Raiders? Shepard straightened his shoulders, resolve hardening in his features. You can count on us, Commander. New Horizon will not surrender, not while there's still breath in our bodies. Johnson nodded, her expression approving. Excellent. Then let us begin preparations immediately. She turned, gesturing for Shepard to follow. I've taken the liberty of establishing the command center in your central hub. We have much to discuss. As they made their way through the rubble-strewn streets, Shepard couldn't help but feel a glimmer of hope. With the Terran Expeditionary Force at their side, perhaps humanity had a chance to stand against the alien invaders. But he knew the road ahead would be long and arduous, and the fate of their entire civilization hung in the balance. In the command center, Johnson wasted no time briefing Shepard and his officers on the situation. The Star Raiders have amassed a formidable force, striking at isolated human colonies across the frontier. We've been tracking their movements, and it's clear they're intent on subjugating our people and seizing our resources. One of Shepard's lieutenants, a grizzled veteran named Alicia Fernandez, spoke up. Then we must rally our forces and hit them with everything we've got. Show these aliens that humanity won't go down without a fight. Johnson nodded. That's precisely our plan, Lieutenant, but we'll need to move quickly. The Star Raiders are gathering their strength, and we can't afford to give them time to consolidate their hold on the frontier. Shepard leaned forward, his brow furrowed in thought. What's our next move then? How do we coordinate a response across the colonies? Johnson's gaze hardened. We're going to call for a general mobilization. Every able-bodied human, every ship, every weapon. We'll need it all if we're to have any hope of defeating the Star Raiders. Shepard felt a chill run down his spine. This was no small undertaking. The fate of humanity itself hung in the balance. But as he looked around at the determined faces of his officers, he knew they were ready to answer the call. Then let's get to work, he said, his voice thick with resolve. The future of our species depends on it. News of the Star Raider attack on New Horizon and the stunning defense orchestrated by Commander Sarah Johnson rippled through the human colonies like wildfire. Within days, the story had spread to the farthest reaches of humanity's interstellar domains, igniting a surge of patriotism and determination unlike anything seen before. In the bustling commercial hub of Arcadia, President Evelyn Nakamura addressed the nation, her face grim but resolute. Our brothers and sisters on New Horizon have shown us that we will not go gently into the night. The time has come for all able-bodied humans to answer the call to arms. We face an enemy that seeks to subjugate and destroy us, but we will not falter. Together, we will stand against the Star Raiders and defend our way of life. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Across the colonies, shipyards worked around the clock, their assembly lines churning out a new generation of advanced warships. Seasoned veterans, their names etched in the annals of human military history, were recalled from retirement to lead the burgeoning fleet. General William Carver, a legendary strategist whose brilliant tactical maneuvers had turned the tide of countless battles, answered the call without hesitation. As he stepped onto the bridge of the flagship Endeavour, a steely determination burned in his eyes. This is not the first time humanity has been tested by the fires of adversity, Carver addressed his officers, his voice carrying the weight of decades of experience. But we have always risen to the challenge, our resolve forged in the face of overwhelming odds. And that is precisely what we will do now. He turned to the navigation officer, his expression unwavering. Plot a course for the Arcturus system. That is where the Star Raiders have amassed their forces, and that is where we will meet them head-on. Across the colonies, similar scenes played out as veterans and raw recruits alike answered the call. On the industrial world of Helios, the shipyards worked around the clock, launching wave after wave of sleek, heavily armed vessels. Orbital defense platforms were retrofitted with the latest in directed energy weapons, their crews training tirelessly to prepare for the coming onslaught. In the bustling metropolis of New Olympus, the renowned cybernetics engineer Dr. Sarah Chen marshaled her team of technicians, their nimble fingers working to upgrade the neural interfaces of the elite Spartan shock troops. These genetically enhanced warriors would serve as the spearhead of the human counterattack, their reflexes honed to razor-sharp precision. As the days turned into weeks, the human fleet began to take shape, a formidable armada that stretched across the void between the stars. Captains, admirals, and generals conferred tirelessly, coordinating strategies and deployment plans, determined to ensure that their forces would be ready to face the Star Raider onslaught. Finally, the day of reckoning arrived. The human fleet, under the command of General Carver, set a course for the Arcturus system, their firepower and resolve forged in the furnace of necessity. They knew that the fate of humanity hung in the balance, and they were ready to face the Star Raiders head-on, no matter the cost. The human fleet, a formidable armada of sleek warships and heavily armed support vessels, emerged from the swirling vortex of a jump point, their engines rumbling as they arrayed themselves for battle. At the heart of the formation, the mighty Endeavor, under the command of General Carver, took point, its massive guns primed and ready. Across the vast, empty expanse of the Arcturus system, the Star Raider armada hung like a shroud of darkness, their angular vessels moving with a sinister grace. Xiran, the ruthless warlord who had issued the ultimatum to the human colonies, stood on the bridge of his flagship, his eyes narrowing as he observed the approach of the human fleet. "So the pathetic humans have assembled their forces," he growled, his voice dripping with contempt. "No matter. Our numbers and firepower will crush them like insects." He turned to his subordinates, his expression cold and calculating. "Dispatch the vanguard. Let them taste the fury of the Star Raiders." Obediently, the alien vessels surged forward, their plasma cannons blazing. The human ships weathered the initial salvo, their shields flaring to life and deflecting the brunt of the assault. But it was only a taste of the devastation to come. General Carver watched the unfolding battle with a grim expression, his hands gripping the armrests of his command chair. "All ships, defensive formation Alpha. Concentrate all firepower on their forward batteries." The human vessels responded instantly, their maneuverable hulls slipping into a tight, overlapping pattern, their main guns unleashing a thunderous barrage. Explosions blossomed across the Star Raider ships, their shields faltering under the relentless onslaught. But for every alien vessel they destroyed, two more seemed to take its place, swarming the human formation like a dark tide. Carver gritted his teeth, his eyes narrowing as he studied the tactical display. "They're trying to overwhelm us with sheer numbers," he muttered. "We need to find a way to break their momentum." Suddenly, a brilliant flash of light erupted on the edge of the battlefield, drawing the attention of both fleets. Emerging from the swirling energy of a jump point, the sleek, wedge-shaped vessel of Commander Sarah Johnson appeared, its powerful engines propelling it into the fray. "All ships, concentrate your fire on the enemy's flank." Johnson's voice crackled over the communication channels. "I'll draw their attention." Without hesitation, the human vessels adjusted their formation, their guns unleashing a torrent of fire that carved deep into the Star Raiders' exposed flank. Xiran's flagship rocked under the assault, its shields collapsing as the human barrage tore through its hull. Meanwhile, Johnson's vessel dove into the heart of the enemy formation, its powerful energy beam lancing out and decimating entire squadrons of alien ships. The Star Raider warlord watched in horror as his forces were torn apart, his grip on the command console tightening until his knuckles turned white. "Impossible!" he roared, his voice laced with a mixture of fear and rage. "How can these pathetic humans possess such power?" As the battle raged on, the tide began to turn in favor of the human fleet. Carver's tactical genius, combined with the devastation wrought by Johnson's vessel, slowly but surely whittled down the Star Raiders' numerical advantage. Theron, realizing that his forces were on the verge of collapse, issued a desperate order. All ships, fall back. Regroup at the edge of the system. The surviving Star Raider vessels broke off their attack, their engines flaring as they fled the battlefield. Carver watched them go, his expression grim but triumphant. "They won't get far," he murmured, his voice tinged with a hint of satisfaction. "We'll hunt them down and finish this, once and for all." The human fleet, bolstered by their hard-won victory at the Battle of Arcturus, wasted no time in pursuing the retreating Star Raider armada. General Carver, his tactical mind already whirring with plans, plotted a course that would allow them to intercept the alien vessels before they could regroup and fortify their defenses. "We can't afford to let them escape," Carver said, his voice firm as he addressed the assembled fleet commanders. "If we allow the Star Raiders to regroup, they'll only come back stronger and more determined than ever. We need to take the fight to them, and we need to do it now." Across the bridge of the Endeavor, the seasoned military leaders nodded in agreement, their expressions grim but resolute. They knew that the fate of humanity rested on the outcome of this mission, and they were willing to do whatever it took to ensure victory. As the human fleet closed in on the Star Raiders' position, Commander Sarah Johnson's vessel took the lead, its powerful engines propelling it forward with unparalleled speed. Carver had recognized the strategic value of Johnson's ship, and he had tasked her with spearheading the counter-offensive. "Once we've punched a hole in their defenses, I want you to lead the assault on their homeworld," Carver had told her, his gaze unwavering. "We need to cripple their command structure and force their surrender, no matter the cost." Johnson had nodded, her eyes narrowing with determination. "Understood, General. I'll make sure they feel the full fury of humanity's wrath." As the human fleet emerged from the jump point, they were met with a wall of enemy vessels, their weapons blazing. But this time, the Star Raiders were no match for the combined firepower and coordination of the human armada. Johnson's ship, its energy beam cutting through the alien defenses like a hot knife through butter, led the charge, paving the way for the rest of the fleet to follow. The battle raged for hours, with both sides suffering heavy casualties, but the humans slowly and inexorably gained the upper hand. Carver's brilliant tactical maneuvers, coupled with the sheer tenacity of his crews, gradually whittled down the Star Raider forces, leaving them scrambling to defend their homeworld. Finally, with the enemy's defenses breached, Johnson's vessel surged ahead, its powerful engines propelling it towards the Star Raiders' home system. Carver watched with a mixture of pride and trepidation as the ship disappeared into the distance, knowing that the fate of humanity now rested on the shoulders of its commander. As the human fleet pursued the retreating Star Raider vessels, Colonel Michael Shepard, his face etched with determination, turned to his executive officer. "Assemble the Spartan strike teams," he ordered, his voice brooking no argument. "We're going to put an end to this once and for all." The XO nodded, his expression grim. "Yes, sir. The Spartans are ready to move out on your command." Shepard clenched his fist, his knuckles turning white. "Then let's give them hell." Within hours, the Spartan teams, their neural interfaces enhanced by Dr. Sarah Chen's cutting-edge cybernetics, had infiltrated the Star Raider homeworld, their advanced weapons and tactical training making short work of the alien defenders. Shepard, leading the assault from the front lines, fought with a ferocity born of desperation, his men following his lead without hesitation. As they pushed deeper into the heart of the enemy's stronghold, they finally encountered Siren, the ruthless Star Raider warlord. The battle was fierce and brutal, but in the end, the genetically enhanced Spartans proved to be too much for the alien commander, and he was captured, his once formidable forces now in shambles. With the fall of their homeworld and the capture of their leader, the remaining Star Raider vessels had no choice but to surrender, their will to fight broken. Shepard, his uniform stained with the blood of his fallen comrades, stared at Siren with a mixture of triumph and disgust. "It's over, alien scum," he spat. Humanity has won. Zarin, the once feared Star Raider warlord, stood before the assembled human leaders, his proud shoulders slumped in defeat. The imposing figure he had once cut was now diminished, his arrogance and cruelty stripped away by the crushing weight of his losses. Across the table, General Carver, Commander Sarah Johnson, and President Evelyn Nakamura regarded him with a mix of triumph and cautious wariness. They knew that this was a pivotal moment, one that would shape the course of human-alien relations for generations to come. So, Carver began, his voice calm and measured. "You've finally come to your senses. Zaron, are you prepared to accept the terms of our surrender?" Zaron's eyes narrowed, a flicker of defiance still visible in their depths. "Humans," he spat, "you may have won this battle, but you will never truly defeat the might of the Star Raider Alliance." Nakamura leaned forward, her expression hardening. "That's where you're wrong, Zaron. Your so-called alliance is finished. We've dismantled your command structure, destroyed your fleets, and captured your homeworld. You have no choice but to surrender or face the complete annihilation of your species." The alien warlord's jaw tightened, but he knew he had been defeated. Reluctantly, he nodded. "Very well, human. What are your terms?" Johnson spoke up, her voice firm. "First and foremost, your forces will immediately stand down and cease all hostilities against human colonies. Any acts of aggression will be met with swift and merciless retaliation." Zaron's fists clenched, but he dipped his head in acknowledgement. "Secondly," Johnson continued, "you will dismantle the Star Raider Alliance and relinquish all claims to human territory. Your species will be confined to a designated reserve, where you will be allowed to live under our supervision, but you will never again be permitted to threaten our way of life." The alien leader's eyes widened in alarm. "A reserve? You would condemn my people to imprisonment." Carver's gaze hardened. "Consider it fortunate that we are not demanding your complete extermination. Zaron, your species has committed unspeakable atrocities against humanity, and you will be held accountable for your actions." Zaron's shoulders slumped in defeat, the realization that he had no choice but to accept the humans' terms weighing heavily upon him. "And the matter of reparations?" he asked, his voice dripping with bitterness. Nakamura spoke up, her expression stern. "You will turn over all of your remaining resources, technology, and ships to be divided among the human colonies you have so ruthlessly attacked. This is the price you must pay for your crimes against our people." Zaron's jaw tightened, but he knew he had no choice. With a resigned nod, he conceded, "Very well. I accept your terms." Carver leaned back in his chair, a grim satisfaction etched on his weathered features. "Excellent. You have 2 weeks to complete the transfer of all assets and to withdraw your forces from human space. Failure to comply will result in the total annihilation of your species." Zaron's eyes narrowed, but he knew better than to argue. He had been utterly crushed, his dreams of galactic domination reduced to ashes. As the alien warlord was escorted from the room, Nakamura turned to Carver and Johnson, her expression solemn. "This is a bittersweet victory, my friends. While we have secured the safety of our colonies, we must now grapple with the burden of rebuilding and the responsibility of guarding against future threats." Johnson nodded, her gaze distant. "Indeed, the Star Raiders may be defeated, but the true test lies ahead. We must ensure that humanity is prepared to face whatever challenges the galaxy may bring." Carver's eyes narrowed, a glimmer of determination in his weathered features. "Then that is precisely what we will do. The future of our species depends on it." In the aftermath of the decisive victory over the Star Raiders, humanity found itself thrust into a new era of peace and prosperity. The resources and advanced technology, plundered from the defeated alien empire, allowed for rapid expansion into the stars, with new colonies being established across the galaxy at a breakneck pace. General William Carver, his tactical genius and unwavering leadership having played a pivotal role in the conflict, oversaw the transformation of the human military. The fleet was modernized and expanded, its vessels equipped with the latest in cutting-edge weaponry and shielding technology. Carver knew that while the immediate threat of the Star Raiders had been neutralized, there were bound to be other equally formidable challenges on the horizon. "We must be vigilant," he said, addressing his senior officers during a briefing. "Our victory has made us a force to be reckoned with in the galactic community, and there will undoubtedly be those who seek to challenge our newfound power. We must be prepared to defend our way of life, no matter the cost." The seasoned veterans under Carver's command nodded in agreement, their expressions resolute. They had seen the horrors of war, but they also understood the importance of maintaining a strong and capable military in the face of an uncertain future. Meanwhile, in the bustling metropolis of New Olympus, Dr. Sarah Chen and her team of cybernetics experts continued to push the boundaries of human augmentation. The Spartan shock troops, their neural interfaces enhanced by Chen's groundbreaking work, had proven to be a decisive factor in the battle for the Star Raider homeworld. Now, the engineers sought to further refine and improve the technology, ensuring that humanity's elite soldiers would be ready to face any challenge that the galaxy might throw their way. "The future of warfare is in our hands," Chen said, her eyes gleaming with determination. "With these advancements, our soldiers will be faster, stronger, and more resilient than ever before. They will be the spearhead of our expansion, the vanguard that secures our place among the stars." Across the colonies, a sense of optimism and renewed purpose permeated the air. The once isolated human worlds were now tightly interconnected, their economies and infrastructure woven together in a tapestry of mutual prosperity. Trade routes flourished, and the exchange of ideas and technologies fueled a cultural renaissance unlike anything seen before. President Evelyn Nakamura, her face etched with a mix of pride and responsibility, addressed the gathered leaders of the newly formed Interstellar Alliance. "My fellow humans, we stand at the dawn of a new era. The threat of the Star Raiders has been vanquished, and we now have the opportunity to forge a future beyond our wildest dreams. But with this power comes great responsibility. We must use it wisely, to ensure the well-being and security of all our people, and to establish our place as a beacon of hope and progress in the galaxy." The assembled leaders nodded in agreement, their eyes filled with a renewed sense of purpose. They knew that the road ahead would not be an easy one, but they were prepared to face the challenges head-on, their resolve forged in the crucible of war. As the meeting drew to a close, Nakamura couldn't help but feel a sense of cautious optimism. The future of humanity was now in their hands, and they were determined to make the most of it. Commander Sarah Johnson stood on the observation deck of the Endeavour, her gaze fixed upon the vast expanse of stars before her. The ship had returned to its home port, its battle-scarred hull a testament to the trials it had endured. But for Johnson, the true measure of their victory lay not in the physical scars, but in the profound change that had swept through the fabric of human civilization. As she reflected on the events that had unfolded, a sense of both pride and responsibility weighed heavily upon her. The conflict with the Star Raiders had forever altered the course of human history, propelling their species into a position of power and influence in the galactic community. No longer were they mere observers, content to dwell in the shadows. They had proven their mettle, their determination forged in the crucible of war. Johnson's mind drifted to the numerous challenges that still lay ahead. The Star Raider threat might have been neutralized, but she knew that the galaxy was a vast and capricious place, teeming with both wonders and perils. Humanity's newfound status as a dominant force would undoubtedly draw the attention of other alien civilizations, some of whom might seek to test the limits of human strength and resilience. "Are we truly ready for what the future holds?" she murmured, her brow furrowed in contemplation. The doors to the observation deck hissed open, and General Carver stepped through, his weathered features etched with a similar expression of concern. Johnson turned to him, offering a nod of acknowledgement. "General," she said, "I trust the post-battle debriefing went well." Carver nodded, his gaze sweeping across the vast expanse of space. "As well as can be expected. The transition to peacetime operations is never an easy one, but our people are resilient. They've proven that they can adapt to the challenges before them. He paused, his eyes meeting Johnson's. But you're troubled, Sarah. What's weighing on your mind? Johnson sighed, her fingers tracing the contours of the observation window. The future, William. The future of our species and our place in the galaxy. We've achieved a great victory, but I can't help but wonder if it's merely the calm before the next storm. Carver nodded, his expression thoughtful. I've had similar concerns. The power we've amassed, the technological superiority we've demonstrated, it's bound to draw attention, both from those who would seek to emulate us and those who would seek to subjugate us. He placed a hand on Johnson's shoulder, his grip reassuring. But that's precisely why we must remain vigilant and continue to strengthen our position. The future may hold challenges, Sarah, but I have no doubt that humanity is up to the task. Johnson's lips curved into a faint smile. You always did have a knack for seeing the silver lining, even in the darkest of circumstances. Carver chuckled, the lines around his eyes crinkling. It's a skill that served me well over the years, and one that I intend to pass on to the next generation of leaders. He turned, his gaze sweeping over the bustling activity on the Endeavor's bridge. This is just the beginning, Sarah. The dawn of a new era for our species. One where we will take our rightful place among the stars and forge a future that will echo through the ages. Johnson nodded, her own determination renewed. Then let us ensure the future is one of unity, progress, and peace, for the sake of all humanity. Carver's expression hardened, a glint of steel in his eyes. Amen to that, my friend. Amen to that. As the two seasoned veterans gazed out into the vastness of space, they knew that the challenges ahead would be formidable, the battles yet to be fought, the sacrifices yet to be made. But in that moment, they were filled with a steadfast conviction, a belief that humanity, united and resolute, would rise to meet whatever the galaxy had in store. For the dawn of a new era had indeed arrived, and the destiny of the human race was forever changed.